your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati.
Speed with Coyle Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals here on this Monday, May 11th. Todd Leary, how are you, sir?
I am fantastic.
Got Jake. What am I talking about? Little Jimmy Dickens at the wheel. First day at the wheel. No, I'm just kidding. Jimmy Sutton, new man at the wheel there. Jake will be filling in on occasion, but he's our new guy. So welcome aboard. He's just doing flawless already this morning. Not a single mistake.
No more than Jake. I mean, my gosh. I almost had to learn how to be an engineer because of Jake.
Hope everyone had a post-Happy Mother's Day yesterday. So make sure that everyone enjoyed that day. It was you had to stay in, so I'm sure a lot of people couldn't go see their mom. That's kind of weird, I guess. But had that going on. But sports, man, sport returns. UFC it was the first major sport to return. I watched some of the prelims. I didn't get the big card. Did you watch the big dance?
I not only did not watch it, I haven't seen anything on it. But that's not unusual because I have never in my life watched any of the UFC fights or any of that stuff.
It seemed to go over very well.
Not a big fan of that stuff.
Well, people were happy just to have sports back.
My kids love it. Oh, my gosh. I mean, they were so excited, and we were on different pages when it comes to that.
Well, it did return, and it was a welcome sight for a lot of people. Also, The Last Dance on last night. Nothing earth-shattering on there last night, just more about MJ, I think.
Well, the stuff leading into that one was, like I saw a quote from him saying, after these two episodes, these are the two episodes are the reason why he's going to say people think that he's a a-hole and don't like him. But I mean,
I see the most driven guy I may have ever seen in my life. I mean, unbelievable, relentless.
I mean, you want to say, you could almost say, he was just tough on guys. It isn't like he punched anybody in the face, but
except for
that
one guy.
Yeah, I mean, he actually did. So,
but he got hit first.
Yeah, it's truly one of those scenarios. And sitting on your couch in a living room, I mean, it sounds like some of the things he did was crazy or a little bit over the top or stuff like that. But then, if you've ever played on team sports, and I don't care what level it is, I don't care if it's just high school level. If you've played on team sports, like in the dog days of practice and, not the limelight of a Saturday afternoon CBS game, but, the days when you're trying to get better and you guys are working hard and everybody's battling for playing time and everybody's battling to get better and to, gel as a team. It's not all fun. I mean, heck, we had at IU, we had fights, I don't want to say all the time, but we regularly had issues, and it's not a bad thing. Like, it's truly not. You've got to fight through that stuff, and the teams that are the most successful, I think, are the ones that come out of that on the good end and don't hold grudges. And I've told this story before, but one of the best leadership moves I've ever been a part of was when we showed up with 7 new freshmen that came in. Jamal Meeks got up in front of everybody in the locker room and had a little, behind closed doors talk. And he said, "Hey, look, when we go out of those doors and we go out there on the practice floor, it's a war. Like you bite, scratch, punch. I don't care what you've got to do to everybody. But when we walk back into this locker room, it's all over. And we're all teammates and we're all friends. And we established that on day one. And that's something we passed down. I'm sure it got passed down to him, and that's something we passed down to the younger guys when they came in because it just kind of eliminates any future issues. And last night that kind of brought me back to that stuff. But Jordan, I mean, he's the best. He's not only the best physical player I've ever seen. He's the best mental basketball player that's ever played, in my opinion.
I don't think that people – well, I know they don't. Me included. We don't realize – we don't know how much greatness it really is. It is so far above us.
Yeah,
that we don't have a clue. We don't have a clue on what it takes the energy to put in to try to maintain that greatness and the drive that he has. My God, he's already at a level above everybody else, but he kept pushing himself above that and trying to raise them. It's unbelievable because the guys he's talking to are professional athletes.
Right.
It's again, I don't. It's the level we don't understand what that level is. It's crazy. Or I don't.
I don't either. But I mean, we're talking about. I even have to try to remind myself of this, and I don't always do a great job of it. When we're doing post-game shows and we're talking about guys playing during games and stuff like that, I don't even do a great job. I try to remind myself, but I don't do a great job of remembering, what those guys have put into what they're doing. And it's easy to, look at game film and watch them, see what's going on, but to think back of what those guys did all summer long and all preseason and all conditioning and all that stuff. Like, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just saying there's a lot of hard work that gets put into the product that goes out there on the floor. And I forget about that, especially considering the fact that you guys we're discussing are college athletes and amateurs, at least for another year or so.
People see the games and think, oh, that's it. They don't think
Right.
about the practice. They don't think about all the training that goes into it, all the stuff that we see somewhat behind the scenes now with Last Dance. Those practices were brutal. He was wearing everybody out. I mean, he was ripping everybody but Phil Jackson.
How interesting was the thing when he was shooting the movie and had that the Jordan Dome built down there.
Oh my gosh.
And inviting of all the
It was an all-star. I did not know about that. It was like an all-star game going on at all times.
Usually that kind of thing, obviously I think it gets talked about and all that, but over the years, those stories even get embellished and you probably hear, stuff that didn't even really happen, but I never heard anything about him having those guys down there to practice and play and do all that stuff. I'd never heard a word about that.
He had an all-star team basically all the time in Los Angeles on a movie studio lot. How does that not become how do we not know about that? It's crazy.
Insane. The highlight of the show last night was the sign somebody was holding up in the background of the Supersonics when it said legalize Kemp.
I did not see that. Oh my gosh.
I cracked up about that for a while. I'm thinking about that. That was in 1995, 6, 7, something like that. That's pretty creative.
I saw Michael Jordan take batting practice at Old Comiskey Park in it was like 1990. I was looking it up because I tweeted out to a buddy or texted a buddy of mine from college, Pete Clausen. We went to his dad, his brother. We went to the Old Comiskey Park in Chicago. It was in July of 1990, and Michael Jordan was there taking batting practice. This is before his baseball thing. It was but it was already in his deal and then the Reinsdorf owned the White Sox as well as the Chicago Bulls, so he had that ability. But I remember being there for that. It was just weird, and he put 2 out in Old Comiskey Park. It was kind of cool, but man, that was just a unique memory because that was a couple years before he actually did his baseball deal. But just a unique memory that's cool that I didn't realize then how unbelievable that moment was. Of course, now it's like something etched in gold.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's a pretty incredible thing that he was able to accomplish. I mean, the thing that you will hear if you talk to a lot of Major League Baseball people, I mean, look, you grew up playing baseball. I grew up playing baseball. Most kids or most people our age when they were kids played baseball at some level. And even if it only got to high school level, I mean, you sit there and you think about it and you're like, all right, I mean, it's baseball. I mean, we could go out. We could probably get some hits. We could probably hit in the major leagues. And then you talk to a major league pitcher and you're like, or a major league player at all. And you're like, yeah, you would have zero chance of even making contact with the ball. And for him to be able to go out and do that in that short a period of time, I mean, that's the crazy part. And it was very interesting to hear his manager talk about if he had 1,500 at bats, he thinks there's a chance that he would have had a decent chance of getting to the major leagues.
The Reinsdorf said that too.
That's pretty incredible to hear. If you just look at him, obviously he's a physical specimen, Jordan. And if you just look at him out there on the field, he didn't look out of place other than he looked like a giant out there compared to most of the people. But I mean, I don't have any doubt at all if he truly put his mind to it, and the fact that he came back and played basketball kind of tells you that he never 100% bought into baseball. But had he done it from the time he was a younger kid, I think he'd have made it.
Maybe I don't know if he just realized how tough it was to get to the level
right
at basketball that he was at. He was like, whoa.
And even as smart as he is and as competitive as he is, I really think that he thought in his mind, okay, I'll spend 2 weeks at AA and then I'll be at AAA and then I'll be playing for the White Sox in a couple of, in a month. And that's how confident he probably was in himself. But
Major League pitching changes that real quick.
It's just a little bit different. It's a little bit different.
We've seen a lot of people try it. Tim Tebow was another that tried it. But there's guys that have been –
I mean, Deion Sanders doesn't even make any sense how good of an athlete that guy is.
That's just stupid. I think you could put him in anything. He could probably be a point guard if you put him on a basketball floor. I mean, he's just such a crazy good athlete. And then, of course, the original, Bo Jackson. I mean, that guy was a freak. Is a freak. I mean, he was not – he was at the elite level in both sports. It's crazy. I mean that's freaks come along sometimes, but they're a hell of a joy to watch.
Well, Deion, if I would love to watch a whole bunch of interviews with him as long as the TV was on mute.
Yeah.
Because that guy, he is brain dead.
That's like listening to Stephen A. Smith. I can't do it, man. Just too loud for me. Hey, we got lots more coming up. Talking about the last dance here, but Indiana football, there's a little tragedy strikes the IU football family. We'll talk about that. But they get a transfer, also a JUCO transfer. Zion Williamson, his attorneys. You see that? Asking for some info on Zion. And then Dick Vitale says 2 programs expect to be hit with major issues. Who is that going to be? We'll talk about that. Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Larry back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by our rivals. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com where you can get complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, including the NBA 2K Challenge. Will Sheehy has put together a number of players, the Jordan Halls, Derek Alston, Christian Watford, James Blackman Jr., Johnny Marlin. I'm not sure if there's others, but it's an event, The Bounty. It's an online NBA 2K tournament allowing participants to compete alongside and against college and NBA players. So it's only $5, and it's raising funds for COVID-19 relief. So make sure you enter Jordan Hulls as your key entry there at Jordan Hulls 1 for details. But make sure you follow that up, man. That sounds like something fun. You ever? That's one thing I never got into, Todd, was the video games. I just never, ever did. I don't know why. I know it was the great ones were way before us, but even later on, there was people that I'm like, yeah, it was just not my thing.
Well, the only one I can understand how people get into it. I don't even know,
especially because
I don't
really
even
good.
understand what the Fortnite thing. I don't even know what that is. My kids all loved it and played it or whatever. I don't even know what it is, but I mean, I did I loved playing. The only games I've ever played is the Tiger Woods on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever it was on that my kids had. And I really, I loved playing that with them. But I mean, I'm just not I can't sit still long enough to play. If I play 2 holes on the TV, I would want to go outside and play real golf. So I just have never gotten addicted to any of those kinds of things. But man, I know a lot of kids do. I mean, heck, there's people that are making, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year by playing these games for a living. I don't understand it.
Yeah,
but
it's cool, crazy. But the thing, the games now, obviously they're so good. They're almost lifelike. They're definitely close to lifelike.
Well, heck, you watch that virtual auto racing they've had on the last couple of weeks. If you're not really paying attention, it darn near looks real. It's crazy.
Well, and it allows them to really get into it. It's just like the racing. I mean, the iRacing, that stuff is pretty. It's unbelievable, and so they can actually compete in that stuff. So it's kind of weird, but thank goodness we don't hope that that's going to be our replacement. Looking forward to getting back to real sports sooner rather than later. But hopefully, the UFC thing was an impetus of. What did you didn't watch it? But
I didn't watch any of it.
Jimmy, did you see any of it? Little Jimmy Dickens.
Did you see any what?
You still waiting to see any of the UFC?
No, I didn't watch any of it. I'm not a big UFC fan.
It was no fans there, so I was just curious on what other. You kind of there's a difference in the electricity. It's weird that it's like it's sanitized. You do focus a little more on the action, but there's no crowd noise. That buzz isn't there. That electricity isn't there. There's definitely a difference, and it would have to be a difference in the games or whatever sport that you're playing, but it's also a difference that you make. It's just like playing AAU ball, but it's different.
You think Ted Valentine will retire? There's no fans to show off in front, although it's still on TV and he's TV Ted. So
there you go.
There's a decent chance he stays with it, but
he may be more of a central figure now.
You know how theatrical he gets when he makes a lot of calls and does all that stuff. I mean, that's because the emotion of the crowd and everything that's going on. I mean, he probably would like this as least as anybody.
Yeah,
I'll pick on him for life. I don't even feel guilty about it.
But it's so we move along with that. But the tragic details coming out of in regards to an IU football player losing both of his parents over the weekend. Just a horrible accident. WTHR reported that Cassandra Wilson, the mother of IU redshirt junior wide receiver Cam Wilson, was a victim of a fatal shooting in Columbus. His father was also found deceased later in Indianapolis on Saturday. So they're investigating that. But either way, no matter how that comes out, it's just a tragic deal for a kid to lose both of his parents.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, there are very few people that even have any kind of point of reference when it comes to that. Just awful. I mean, for a 20-ish-year-old kid, I mean, to be dealing with that, amid everything that's going on right now, and just the uncertainty of everything, and then to have something tragic like that, boy, you really think and pray a lot for him to be able to figure out, a reason or an explanation for this, but just terrible.
Yeah, and Coach Allen is a guy that we know is a man of faith, so he's probably offering all of the support that he could possibly offer. And during this tough time, especially, it's we're in this weird time of everybody being kind of sequestered, and nothing is made easier. I mean, birthdays and celebrations are not made easier, and tragedies, of course.
Yeah, his Mother's Day was a day later. Yeah, I mean,
it's just a horrible event.
Awful.
But hopefully that he gets all the support that he can get there. Indiana football also a JUCO transfer, Chris Bradley, coming over to Indiana. So there's Indiana continuing to add nice pieces to their lineup, man. And so as we go along, and if we have a football season, which someone asked me about that yesterday, and I'm like, well, I think that we're definitely going to have one, but it ain't going to be the same. I mean, I think there's going to be teams that do not play this fall, maybe teams in the Northeast that have been so hit by the COVID-19 outbreak. I know for a fact those teams in the Southeast Conference, they're playing. They're probably strapping up to get ready to go practice here soon. There's no doubt about the SEC. The Big Ten is going to be almost forced because of the behemoth money that this is, and the schools. I mean, think about Michigan, Ohio State. For the schools, students being on campus, first of all, they've got to have them on campus or there's a ton of money lost. Think about these games at Michigan, Ohio State, the money there. It is staggering, the money that these schools will lose. And I don't expect the fans to be in the stands, but I don't know if they're going to try to come up with an alternate plan. But it's just craziness, but that we're looking at. It's just unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, we're what, 2 months into this thing right now ish, and I still think we're probably maybe a month away from kind of having a little better idea. I mean, of what's going to be able to start on time and what we can expect from a protocol standpoint. Colleges actually having students on campus. I still think we're probably about sometime beginning of June to mid-June. I think we'll have a much better idea of what's going on. I mean, today's kind of a big day here in the state of Indiana, with outside of Marion County, and I think two other smaller counties like Lake and maybe Cass County, having partial openings. I mean, restaurants can be open to 50% capacity, retail shops to 50% capacity. It'll be interesting to see how many places take advantage of that and how many places open back up, and it'll be interesting. To see, I think this next month's information will give us a lot of an indicator as to what it's going to be like later in the year.
I agree wholeheartedly. Zion Williamson's name popped up in the news.
Oh boy,
there's always been a little smoke, and then it kind of seemed to go away for a little while. But now all of a sudden, his ex-marketing company, those are the people that usually know everything. They are asking him to answer questions for a deposition, and I'm quite positive, knowing how attorneys operate, these attorneys are asking these specific questions because they already know the answer.
Sure.
And they're looking for his answer. And those questions are about receiving improper benefits from Nike, from Adidas, and from Duke in order to go play at Duke. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm sure he'll answer them and like, no, I don't know anything about it because that's
if it's anything like if he learns anything from the Chris Webber situation and they put him in front of a grand jury, he better tell the truth. And here's with that we talk about all the time. We talked about it last week with the Kansas situation. Is if Zion Williamson answers those questions and doesn't tell the truth, and it's ever proven that he did answer them wrong, then he's broken the law. Him answering the questions saying he took money, he didn't break any laws. Like, that's just a rule. That's an NCAA rule that he broke, but he's never going to be affected by that, other than people maybe hurting his reputation as a Duke fan. But from the standpoint of breaking the law, like up to this point, even though they've done some things that were impermissible benefits, that's just an NCAA rule. There's nothing that they've done illegal at that point. This is what I said last week. You know what? I don't care about Duke or Louisville or Kansas or Arizona or LSU. I mean, I don't have any reason to give them a break other than you and I both know this has been going on since all the way back when Kentucky was sending $20,000 in a FedEx envelope to a recruit's parents. This has been going on forever. This is why Coach Knight, in my opinion, is the best coach of all time, because I can assure you nothing like that ever happened, and they did it legally. And if you want to say he recruited players that he didn't have to do that with, then that's the way you can look at it. But this has happened forever, and we've all known it. It's not just those big schools; it's happened at all the little schools too, or not all. That's improper statement.
Oklahoma State, USC, Auburn,
Florida State. I mean,
the stuff that's coming out in an FBI investigation. But here's the thing: if people think that these other kids are getting this kind of money from Adidas and Nike, and the kids going to Duke, Kentucky, and Kansas were not. They were the elite of the freaking elite. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind if you those schools that haven't been caught yet. You're out of your mind if you think these other elite players were getting proposals from these people and these guys at these schools weren't. You're crazy. You're delusional. It just hasn't happened yet. Dick Vitale said this morning, expect 2 more high-profile programs to get hit, but I think that's 2 that we've already spoken about. If I'm guessing, I'm thinking he might be talking about LSU and Arizona. But that's just
but I mean, this like I said last week, though, you almost have to just take the gray area out of the rule book and say, as of this date moving forward, none of this stuff is allowed. We're going to, not we, I have nothing to do with it. They're going to waste so much time and energy and money by investigating all this stuff and taking it to court and all the things they're going to do with all of this. I don't see, at the end of the day, they could bust more than 50% of the schools, I would say. And you almost just have to say, hey, as an NCAA group overall, they've done such a terrible job of monitoring it. I mean, you and I talked about it last week. When you talk about Louisville, their coaches were responsible for monitoring the program. The athletic director is responsible for monitoring the basketball program. And all of it trickles upward with that, of who actually is responsible for all this. Well, ultimately, the NCAA is responsible also. I mean, they did a terrible job of monitoring everything that was going on. And I can tell you, I've been involved in the AAU circuit for a long time, and I can assure you the NCAA does not have a presence when it comes to these big national tournaments and watching all of these shoe companies walk around with all of these kids and watching, these kids come in and stay in 5-star hotels and, drive in really nice cars and things like that. The NCAA does not monitor that stuff. And so they're somewhat to blame too. And I think that we're opening up a Pandora's box here for all of the issues, and we're just going to have to at some point say. And look, I'm just talking about basketball because I'm much more familiar with that AAU wise. Football, like you just talked about SEC football. I mean, it's got to be the same. It's got to be somewhat similar.
Yeah, I just want to see a freaking even playing level. I want to. I don't care if these. I'm starting to not even care if these people are punished now. I want it eliminated. I mean, yeah, you'd like to see it, but I think it's starting to be a pipe dream to see Kansas get punished, but we'll see. But I want to see Duke and Kansas and Kentucky be like everybody else, not having these guys behind them, funneling these players to them, which just changes the entire game. And I know that Adidas and Nike, they want to see the Dukes and the Kentuckys and the Kansases and the Indianas, for that matter, up there. They want to see those high-profile programs, but I think the game is better off if we can just get back to the point to where, because we're getting the parity is getting there on its own, and if you eliminate those elite guys, it may be incredibly good.
Here's where it becomes, I don't want to say difficult, but here's where the problem really starts. Is, if you've been involved in AAU basketball, it starts like way early on. I mean, heck, you start taking your teams to national tournaments in like the 5th grade, 6th grade even. I mean, sometimes even younger than that. But they're talking about, with Zion Williams as an example, they're talking about him getting stuff. Because ask the question, how could he get money from Adidas and Nike? How does that make any sense? And that's because they approach him individually way before Duke's ever involved, way before anything like that's ever involved.
Or the father approaches.
When he's in the 7th grade playing an AAU tournament and he's already dunking and has highlight videos on YouTube, you know who's contacting him? Nike and Adidas and Under Armour and all of those shoe teams or shoe companies are already trying to get their foot in the door way before this kid ever even talks to Mike Krzyzewski or John Calipari or somebody like that. And so you almost, when you start recruiting someone, it's almost the baggage that particular player is already bringing to the table when you're, way before you're ever even involved.
And as a parent, it's going to take a strong person, a person with strong character, with unimpeachable character, to not do what Brian Bowen's dad did, what Zion's dad did, to reach out and say, hey, we need this, to start marketing your son.
How hard that would be to do if you were a family that was struggling. I mean, a middle income family living in.
And how do you blame them?
I don't know how you do it. And this is the only thing those people really did wrong in those scenarios is jeopardize their kids' college 1 year of eligibility, because they're most likely in that scenario, they're not going to graduate from college in 1 year anyway. So they're going to have to finish either online or after basketball's over or whatever it may be. So they really just probably should have done what, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but done what Lamar Ball did and taken his kid and gone to Australia, played a year professionally, and skipped the college situation altogether. Because in today's world, if your kid's going to be good enough to play, which most of these kids we're talking about, then that 1 year of eligibility for you're just trying to make sure you can check that amateurism box off for the NCAA. And if they'd have just gone straight to that's G League team or any overseas team or anything, you could never even say they've done anything wrong. They'll be able to, Nike and Adidas will be able to go to an 8th grader right now and give him $1 million because that kid's never going to play in the NCAAs anymore anyway. Yeah, and that's legal.
I think that they've got to somehow prevent the parent of a prospect from receiving large sums of money. I mean, even if they're heading an AAU program, things like that, it's like there's just ways to get around it.
What if you have a childhood actor? I mean,
that's true. That's true. It's a great point. See, those are some people forget, and that's a great point. We forget that sports is not indifferent than other freaking businesses. If it was IBM or an actor, like you said, it's
you take like Taylor Swift or somebody like that. That's 15. I'm making somebody up.
It's a perfect example though.
Britney Spears, somebody that's 15 years old, and their parents are negotiating a contract for them. I mean, it's no different.
Yep. You're exactly right. There are just people in the world that are different than me.
Jimmy, mark this down. Every time he says I'm exactly right, we got to mark it down. It doesn't happen very often. Put it on the best on our best of series.
Oh man, we got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Corey O'Leary to talk about. Did you know Oh my God, I feel sorry for Sage. It's her daughter. She tweeted out that her daughter, they were watching Last Dance, and her daughter says that Rodman is so hot. She says, I quit. We got more coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Coyle Leary back with more after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Go to thehoosier.com, sign up, it's free. Complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers. Alec Lasley's been killing the coverage on the basketball recruiting. Introducing to you a lot of new guys. He'll be with us each and every Friday, as always. Football recruits, like we talked about, they have a JUCO transfer and still rolling along. Cliff Marshall tweeted out that he's strength coach for IU basketball. This was kind of funny, Todd. Here's a picture of his brother-in-law. He played an entire full season in Birmingham with Michael Jordan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How cool is that?
The funny part is when they talked about that and they showed, I remember something about this, and my memory is obviously it was a long time ago, but I remember there being something and thinking, they were saying, he's just one of the guys. He wants to be treated like everybody else on the team and all that. But I remember seeing something about how now all of a sudden they had like a $2 million bus they were traveling on, or they were flying to their games instead of driving like they used to with a lot of them. And I mean, he upgraded their ability to travel and do things. So even though he claimed he wanted to be treated like everyone else,
to a degree,
he really was helping them be treated more like him.
Oh yeah, I mean, you tell me they didn't love life.
Oh my gosh,
it was like being a rock star all of a sudden. I remember that time. It was just kind of crazy, but I think that's something he definitely needed to do what he did. There's no way I think that they win 6 titles if he doesn't take that break.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason no one else has done that before. I mean, even the greatest.
I mean, what a unbelievable, feat to accomplish, and having 2 3-peats like that, and the 2 years in the middle of it, you basically took off. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it all adds to the argument of the best player of all time versus everybody else, and truly. What they did was just remarkable. I mean, tell me this. I mean, did they just decide they never needed a center that was any good? Look at the guys who are being interviewed on there. I mean, you're talking
Names
about
that you never heard of. This is not McHale or Parrish.
When you look at like Bill Cartwright, you're like,
who?
Yeah. This guy. He looked 70 years old when he was playing. I mean, he barely could get up and down the court, and they were winning with these. I mean, Bill Winnington, super nice guys. Judd Bushler.
They just needed position players.
Yeah.
To go with those greatness that shows you that the greatness that Michael Jordan, and that he pushed that off onto Scottie Pippen. Because I don't know, Scottie Pippen is not that player if he does not go to the Bulls. I mean, he even said it. He had to push him to that level.
Boy, what I had forgotten, and it brought back a lot of memories about the Scottie Pippen sitting out the end of that game. The game-winning shot. I had forgotten all about that, but man, I think Michael Jordan should have said these episodes are going to make Scottie Pippen look like an a-hole, because it was a bad look for Scottie Pippen last night. I was
totally thinking the same. Oh, you're talking about when he quit that game?
Yeah. Yeah.
And see now, and you add that to the fact that he bitched and moaned about his contract that the owner begged him not to sign.
Right.
So I'm like going, wow. Yeah, he kind of was whatever name you want to call it. I'm going to say, yep, I'm going to give it to him. He was, and there's no way getting around it. He oh my gosh, I can't believe whining because he wasn't going to get the shot to the point where he sits out. Wow.
That's the kind of thing. Okay. So yes, I'm the first person. I will without question admit that the NBA athletes are the some of the best athletes in the world, and the game is those guys are so good, it's incredible. But that's also part of watching that reminds me also of why I hate it, and why I hate the aspect of the possibility of what's college basketball is going to have to change into because of the name, image, likeness thing. Because when you start getting guys that are making decisions within a game that are money related or ego related, I choose to not watch the UFC. I choose to not watch professional wrestling and all that crap because it just all seems fake and staged. You probably not UFC, but you get my point. Like these guys are, when your ego gets involved in it and you're not thinking about just winning a basketball game. I mean, I want nothing to do with watching that. I could care less about how big somebody's ego was.
Yeah, and neither did he. I mean,
can you imagine making a decision on a team like that? Like, I just, what would happen if a kid did that in high school? I understand it's professional and it's their jobs and all that. What would happen at almost any high school in the state of Indiana if your leading scorer on the team, because you're not setting the play up for him at the end of the game, just chooses to not go in the game? I mean, if he didn't get kicked off the team, I just don't even know that. None of that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, it's but I think that what he's had to live with because of that, and now will have to live with because it's been refreshed not only in our memories, but now it's been put into memories of kids that did not know that. So it is going to really tarnish his legacy. Deservedly so. I mean, wow, that's
Totally.
And like they showed last night, Jordan called in like immediately say he's never going to live that.
He's exactly right, though. I mean,
he knew it instantly. And you're right. He was exactly right.
That's not something that you can't explain that away. The only thing he could ever do, and he said, I think he said he made a mistake or something like that along those lines. But not. I think he only thinks he made a mistake because everybody made such a big deal about it. You look at that scenario, and the only way he could have come out of that is to just truly say, "Look, I lost my mind for a minute. It was the worst thing I could have ever done to my teammates. I can't believe I did it, and it would never happen again." I mean, that's the only way you could take that. But you think about when that was, and then you continue on and think, well, even after that, he had the situation where he didn't play because, he didn't play the beginning of the season because he didn't have surgery in time and things like that. Like it was one story after another of him making selfish, egotistical decisions.
Yeah, it's he got to. I guess he thought he was Michael Jordan, and he wasn't, and that's just.
Well, I mean, you take his career building up to the NBA. And if you would have told him that he was going to get to play for 6 years or 7 years for $18 million prior to him ever being in the NBA, he would have said, I'll play hard 82 games a year plus the playoffs. I don't care if my feet bleed to death. Like he would have done anything to sign that contract and do that. The only thing that gets in the way is his ego when he starts to realize, and hey, I'm the first one to tell you, it wasn't fair. We heard his agent, we heard the owner of the team, everybody telling him you shouldn't sign this length of a contract. You should sign this contract for 3, maybe 4 years, but not 6 or 7. And so the fact that he did that and then wants to complain about it later on, like that's the part of it I do not have any tolerance for whatsoever. And guys who want to renegotiate their contracts. And, I see all these things all the times about guys, coaches saying, I love the movie Moneyball. And in that movie, when the guy talks about it, says, I can't coach under the cloud of a 1-year contract.
Yeah. So sure you can.
Billy B says, well, sure you can. I mean, yes, you can. That's your opportunity to go prove yourself and have a great year.
Sure you can.
And then a year from now say, hey, you know what? We had this conversation a year ago, and we said when I proved myself, I was going to get paid for it. And it's just, when you sign that contract, I think you have the legal right, or you have the moral right to fulfill that contract.
Yeah, because my first question is, where was his agent? He's got an agent on top of that.
You know what got in the way of all of that was him, all the media, and him and everybody talking all the time about he's the 6th highest paid player on his team and maybe the 2nd best player in the whole league. And so his ego gets in the way of, wait a minute, these guys are making more money than me, as opposed to just looking at, hold on a minute, I still get $3 million for this season coming in?
Yep.
And instead of being grateful for what he had, he was jealous of what other people had. And that's never a recipe that's going to be successful.
And it affected him throughout the rest of his career.
Oh, yeah. He'll never live it down. He'll never live it down.
And had that not happened, he would have gone down. Well, he still will. But, he'll
be a top 50 player of all time. There's no question about it. But here, here's the thing that he won't ever look at. And I'll bet you, I don't know Scottie Pippen at all. I would just bet, based on what I do know about him, that he would not admit that were he not on the Bulls with Michael Jordan, he would not be in the top 50 players of all time.
He would not be the player he is today. I mean,
there's just no two ways about it.
I mean, he even said that he needed Michael Jordan to push him. They talked about how much we talk about how Michael's an a-hole in practice, but that's what he did. He pushed those guys, and they all said to a man last night, "Yeah, we needed that. We needed to be pushed there." And Scottie Pippen was one of those guys, and it's true. He had to be pushed into there. He had the talent, but man, very few people have that mental mindset.
Look at the interview they had with him. Midway through that, when they were playing the first season without Michael Jordan, and they were interviewing Scottie Pippen at their practice, and they said, how is the team? How's that? And he goes, it's great. We're great. Everything is great. Meaning that, they didn't have the hammer, making sure that they played 110% every day in practice. They basically had free time. They had recess for a year and a half. And,
it's like having a substitute teacher.
It is. It's exactly right. And look what they did. Nothing. I mean, they lost in the second round of the playoffs. And yes, they were decent. They were a good team. They still had good players on their team, but they didn't have, the key that turned that engine that made them all the best players they could be. They were all still great players. They just weren't the best that they could be. They didn't have anybody pushing them to that level.
You're absolutely right. I mean, and it matters. I mean, because at that level, somebody is waiting to knock you off.
For sure. And there was a bunch of people waiting to knock the Bulls off.
Because you look at that, the torch was handed from, say, Larry Bird to I don't want to say to Magic, but I guess it was to Magic, and then to Isaiah. Detroit kind of snuck in there, like they said, and then it was Michael and the Bulls. But there are runs that you see by these franchises, and man, they're just Chicago's was just a hell of a lot longer. But the Eastern Conference was a lot tougher back then than the West.
In our adult lifetime, a lot of those runs have involved the name Phil Jackson. I mean, it's incredible. It truly is amazing what he has been able to accomplish at that level. And anyone that says, anybody can win with Michael Jordan, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, you got to have it all.
You've got to put it all. You've got to put it all together. And from a coaching perspective, I think that guy puts it all together better than anyone that's ever done it at that level.
Michael Jordan didn't win those first few years when he tried because he was trying to do too much himself. And it wasn't until Phil Jackson came in and they instituted the triangle offense, which is more of a sharing type of offense. It's not the triangle offense so much as more of it got other guys involved. And then Michael learned, hey, I got to trust these guys. I got to get them involved. And the more I do that, the better it's going to help me. And then the better it's going to work for the team, which it did.
Yeah. Oh, no question about that. I mean, there's a genius involved in understanding how to get guys to play their roles and do their part.
Bob Knight, it was a king of that.
I was just going to say that's what I think Coach Knight was. That's where he was he's light years ahead of most of the other coaches because he understood how to get guys to do things that weren't going to show up in the stat columns all the time. And when you can do that, watching those teams play, I mean, yes, they were still talented. I mean, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and Ron Harper and all those guys. But then when you look at, they always had, or Dennis Rodman, when you look at the guys, the other couple of guys they had on the floor all the time and the bench that they had, I mean, they were winning with guys who were willing to sacrifice, their own personal stardom to be a part of championship teams like that. And boy, did it pay off.
Yeah, and you have to have that. I mean, because you heard guys talking about, I don't think that in the NBA one man can do this, and it was true. One man couldn't. I mean, Michael Jordan could not do it by himself. And
not to pile on with what the news has been the last couple of days, but you take the team. I know Kentucky gets a bunch of big time recruits every year, but you take 2 years ago in that Duke team with Zion Williamson. And I forget the other two players that were on there, but those other two players that were all ranked in the top 5. I think they had 3 of the top 5 recruits in the nation. And Zion's team at Duke, for that team to not be able to win a national championship, that tells you how difficult it is.
Can you go to the Final Four?
Yeah, that tells you how difficult it is to put everything together. They couldn't get 2 other players to be on the floor and sacrifice themselves for the greater good or for the possibility of winning because, everybody's egos were just in the way. I mean, that's one of the most talented, as freshmen for sure. I mean, you go back and look at the UNLV teams when they were playing Duke back in the early 90s. I mean, those teams had, everybody on that team was a really great player, but they were also juniors and seniors. We're talking about 3 freshmen coming into one school, and they just couldn't figure out a way to have enough basketballs on the floor. And they couldn't get guys to swallow their pride enough to play as a team player. And it's just, I don't know why I'm on that horse today, but the whole Zion Williamson thing, like I don't like reading that. I don't want to read that they're in trouble because I know that, more than 50% of the schools do stuff like that. And I think it's out of control to the point where they can't they can't come in and try to penalize anybody right now. I don't even want Kansas to get in trouble, because if they do, then they're going to kind of start to set a precedent on that, and they're going to have to. How can you not have them all get in trouble if they put Kansas in trouble?
Will Sheehy presents The Bounty, sponsored by thehoosier.com. Jordan Hulls, Derek Elston, Will Sheehy, Christian Watford, James Blackman Jr., Donnie Marlin, all going to take part. It's your shot to take play with against these guys in the NBA 2K tournament. Sign up at thehoosier.com. You get all the information there. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary. We're back with that at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Make sure you go there and get signed up for the NBA 2K Challenge Will Sheehy got put together. Several former Hoosiers involved with that. It's your chance to play with or against these guys, and it's only a $5 entry fee, but it's raising money for the COVID-19 relief. So have some fun. Go to thehoosier.com, get signed up. All the information is there. For that, and there's also a code you can put in. That Jordan holds one for more information, but put that in. It leaves me out. But how about you, or Jimmy John? You're a gamer? You play any of those games?
All I play is 2K, man. That's about it for me.
So are you getting into this? Should we sponsor you to get? We got a team, Todd.
I'll sponsor Jimmy.
It's been a minute. I feel like I'd be awful.
Well, that's not what we want to hear as potential sponsors.
In future reference, if anyone ever asks you and you're awful at it, just say, no, I don't play.
Yeah.
All right, well, then I'm really good.
Well, we'll see how that comes up. But yeah, go there, get signed up for that. Those guys are we're going to have all those guys on. Jordan's going to be with us on Wednesday. I don't have the other guys scheduled yet when they'll be on, but tomorrow, of course, Chronic Hoosiers with us. Jordan on Wednesday. Thursday or Friday, we're going to have Clark Kellogg back on. It's been a while since we talked to him. Back during the season is back. Hope that noise is not going out because I'm getting a call from. It sounds like Jake is calling us.
Nope, we can hear you fine. But I mean,
good deal. I hope that sound's not going out, but I'm hearing in my ears.
Nope,
is what I'm saying.
It's not. It's not.
Good deal. But yeah, a lot of stuff coming up and everybody hoping for sports to return. And we talked earlier about UFC returning, and maybe that's the impetus for these others. We've seen a lot of colleges make statements. We're going to do this on Iowa has set dates to do it. To return, the Southeastern Conference schools, they're coming back in football. I wonder about the other sports, though.
Yeah, I think it's 3 more weeks, and the PGA will be back to play.
NASCAR returns next weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be happier.
Oh, I said I was talking about sports.
Yeah, I knew. But yeah, how happy you think they're going to be being one of the only sports on right then, boy?
Big time.
They're trying to hurry up and get some of that audience real quick.
I know they set these dates, and they did it. I know it's been at least 2, maybe 3 weeks ago when they set these dates for some of these returns, and I truly think that. I mean, everyone's erring on the side of caution, but I really think that they probably wish they'd have done it a couple weeks earlier.
I'll guarantee you, because of all the ones, this is one you test the pit guys. Everybody else, you're out driving around at 180, 90 miles an hour. I think you're going to outrun the virus.
Let me ask you a question. I haven't seen anyone talk about this, and maybe this is just my amateurism point of view of this, but are you understanding the flip back and forth chronological time thing on The Last Dance?
No, it's kind of
why in the world? Like, first of all, we started the whole thing in the number 1 with like the 6th championship. They already won 5 and they're in the 6th, and then we keep like jumping back and jumping forward. I cannot follow this thing for the life of me.
That's what really caught up. It's funny you said that now, because last night is when it really kind of caught. I'm like, wait a minute, why are we? I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, we've already introduced Dennis or Rodman here. Why? That should be happening now.
One of 2 things is going to happen at the end of this. In the final 2 episodes next week, they're either going to tie it all together, and I'm going to be like, oh, my gosh, this is one of the most genius production things I've ever seen, and what a great job. Or I'm going to go, this is a fly-by-night, half-done crew that had no idea what they were doing, because none of this, to me right now, is making any sense. I cannot understand the timelines of why we keep jumping back and forth, and it's not consistent at all. Like, it literally will jump back and forth 6 times in one episode.
Tim asked, we talked about NASCAR. Just did. So there you go.
That's all they get.
Darlington's where they're going back to. Darlington's kind of a unique place. One end of the track, the turns, I think it's 3 and 4, are smaller than turns 1 and 2. And I think, if I remember correctly, it's because there used to be a pond out when they built the track in the 50s, there was a pond back on one of the corners. So they had to come underneath of that pond.
Really?
And so it made the track kind of a different shape. Kind of a unique, which is cool to have differences to these different tracks, but it's weird. I used to, when I was competing in rodeo, there was a place up in South Dakota that we went to that the entire arena was built out of a former duck pond. It used to, and they just drained the pond and dug it down, and the seats were the embankment around it.
Really?
Wild. It was complete. You're out there on this South Dakota ranch. It was wild. But yeah, it's weird what how sports venues are crafted out of the earth.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, you mentioned Darlington's going to be the next race. People who don't know anything about it, myself included, will probably learn a bunch of information about some of these tracks and some of these new places, because once that stuff's on, I make fun of it now, but I'm sure I'll probably be watching it.
Well, and this is one I'm sure they're hoping for some dust ups.
Yeah.
The player,
they need, what they need right now? They need one of those where a guy
good old fashioned
throws his helmet at the car as it's driving by. ready to punch somebody when he gets out of the car. Like they need one of those to get off to a good start.
Well, they talk about the greatest thing that ever happened in NASCAR was in 1979. CBS was showing the Daytona 500, and there was a wreck on the back straightaway between Bobby Baker and Cale Yarborough, I think. And the next thing you know, Baker's brother had a brother that was, or maybe it's Allison's, I forget, but there was two brothers. And next thing you know, the brother stops and they're all out there fighting while the race is going on. And I mean, they're out there kicking. I mean, it was hilarious because NASCAR was unknown to hardly anybody. And you got these guys on there fist fighting while the 200-mile-an-hour race is going on. It's just great. And that's the stuff. Yeah, that's the stuff they need, man. They need some dust up, a fracas. Get something going, man.
It would boost ratings. Not that they're going to need it right now, but it would definitely it would get a lot of coverage.
Or Ricky Bobby, maybe bring back Ricky Bobby.
I mean, you know what? I want to see somebody mad enough they throw their helmet at a car going by again.
Oh, I've seen that.
I know, I have too.
Oh man, that's just funny. Oh, but yeah, hopefully so. But let's hope sports make their return as we slowly get back to some normalcy. Like I said, I've mentioned several times, my daughter is going to be a senior soccer player. You got a son that's going to be a senior basketball player, which I still think, I'm convinced that Kylie's deal is going to be without spectators, maybe, but the basketball, I'm almost certain. I mean, unless they come up with a vaccine, there's no way they're going to be cramming in 3,000-4,000 people in a gym next to each other.
Yeah, no, it'll be. I have a feeling it'll be more like what you and I expected at the Big Ten tournament the day we showed up when it was canceled, where they were only going to allow parents and people associated with the program, and athletic directors and stuff like that, and media. My guess is we're going to see some more of that. We'll see it go back to that point to at least get started. But also it's very difficult to try to talk about what in the world's going to happen in high school basketball starting in November. Yeah. I mean, high school football, we'll know earlier. I mean, that'll kind of be the same thing. It's just, I don't know. I mean, the venues are so small.
Great question about Tim. Have you ever played golf at Indy Motor Speedway?
Of course.
I've never played that.
From Indianapolis.
Well, I know, but I mean, what is that? Is it 9 holes on the inside?
No, 3. There's only 3 holes on the inside. Yeah. Numbers, I want to say 8, 9, 10.
That's just got to be amazing.
1, 2, 3. No, 4 holes are inside. There's 4 holes inside. I think it's 7, 8, 9, 10 are inside.
What's the course like?
It's really nice. It's good. It's wide open. There's not.
That's my kind of course.
There's not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of that. You know what? One thing it always is, which this is interesting. It's always windy there. So one of the cool parts about going and playing there is it really doesn't matter what time of year it is. There's a lot of times there are cars on the track. So there'll be somebody testing tires or somebody. I mean, they're not like, the big time racers that are out there, I don't think. But I mean, somebody will be testing tires or doing something. You'll see cars going around the track way more than just in the month of May. And that part of it's pretty cool. And it's amazing how loud those things are. I mean, when there's not fans in the stands and not all the buzz of a race day and that stuff, and you hear one of those NASCAR cars go by, it is deafening how loud those things are.
And when they go by you, the speed is like,
yeah.
What? Wait, what?
You get to play 2 of the holes that literally parallel with the backstretch on the speedway. And so you get them flying going down there, and they're not very far away from you. So it's pretty cool.
So are you close enough to shank one onto the track?
Oh, easily.
Oh my God.
For sure.
Cars
easily.
Going by, that would be scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they recommend it.
Are you allowed to play while their cars were going?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God, that seems dangerous.
Yeah. They actually play a bunch of.
Do you want to be in one of those cars with somebody like me out there?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not like driving. It's not like driving down the street here at Eagle Point where you got a bunch of bad golfers that could really hit it out there. You would have to pretty much try to hit it onto the track. You'd have to be aiming to hit it over there, which I don't know why anybody would do that.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, that's just. But you talk about cool venues, man. golf course inside. But of course, there's lakes in there. But that's because they had to dig out to build a. Well, it's so much. That's where the lake down at Daytona came from. The banks on the side, how the
Right.
turns are banked. It all came from where that lake is now. They had to dig the dirt out. But speaking of the unique venue, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of 3 places I saw the Rolling Stones. The other 2, Mexico City's Formula One racetrack and Churchill Downs in Louisville. Kind of a weird.
Really?
Just happened that way, but just weird. But yeah, it was just kind of a cool deal. But yeah, everything getting moved to the fall now. You're talking about Indianapolis. That's going to be in the fall. You got the Kentucky Derby moved to September. So hopefully we'll get a lot of, we missed out on a lot of stuff. Are we going to have too much that we can't catch it all in the fall? I mean, like we just talked the Derby. That's during football season. All the stuff during football season. College football is going to. It's like, wow, we're going to have maybe too much to do.
We'll deal with that when it comes. That's something we can. Here would be the interesting thing, and this is where you got to look at it and say, okay, well, we'll put the time in now, and this would be cool to be able to have this. But I obviously from a golf perspective, I look at it and they move the Masters back to November. So will we have a Masters in November and April, where we literally get them 6 months apart from each other? I mean, that would be. I look forward to that, but it would be the same with Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they'll be a lot closer together than they normally would have been, which would be kind of fun.
Yeah, craziness. Hey, make sure you go to thehoosier.com and get yourself entered up for the NBA 2K Challenge. Will Sheehy's NBA 2K Challenge, sponsored by thehoosier.com. All the information is there. You can also go to @JordanHoltz1 for more information. It's only $5. You raise money for the COVID-19 relief. Play against and with some former Hoosier greats. Will Sheehy, James Blackman Jr., Jordan Hulls, Derek Elston, amongst others. So that leaves me out. I'm not very good at that. I'll give him the $5, but I'm terrible. I'll give him $5 to not have to do that.
I would promise you I would give $5 to not have to play.
So make sure you get there. We're back tomorrow with more Chronic Hoosiers with us, of course. Clark Kellogg's going to be with us later in the week. Jordan Hulls is going to be with us. Don't even know who all we got, son. It'll be a great, fun week as always. And Todd said the weather's going to warm up.
Yep. Thursday on, we are 70-plus degrees, so looking forward to that.
So, yeah, as are we. So I hope you have a great day, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we're back again tomorrow for Todd and Jimmy John. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.